Hello, hello. Welcome. Today I am joined by Amanda Rosa, who previously worked with me as a coach, and she's a Reiki healer. She has all these talents, but I very much am excited to have a guest on who's in career transition. So she is from exclusively coaching and doing Reiki work into more reconnecting with her artistic talents and working with her hands. Thank you very much for joining us today, Amanda.
Thanks for having me. Exciting.
Yeah. So, to start out, can you give everyone a little bit of a sort of intro backstory to you? What is your cultural upbringing and where are you from and where are you living now?
Yeah, sure. So I'm originally from Toronto, Canada, just about maybe 30, 40 minutes from the city. I grew up in a very Italian community, an Italian household. My parents are both Italian. So I would say I grew up more Italian than Canadian. I went to Catholic school and I moved to London, England, where I live now, about 10 years ago now. So I was like 24. So yeah, that was a big change. But when I was younger, I always kind of knew I wanted to move to what was then Europe. So England
Mhm.
kind of came up in the cards in the ping of things. So that's kind of it. I was a competitive dancer since I was about 4
Oh,
until I
wow.
was about 16.
What kind of dance?
I did ballet, tap, and jazz. That was the stint of it. And it was great, very toxic, very
Yeah.
fun. It's definitely been two sides of the spectrum, but any type of art basically is something that I've always been into. Not so much musical theater or drama, but anything where I can not use my voice and perform. That seems to be my thing. Yeah.
So it's like being seen, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
When you came to London 10 years ago, did you come as a student or did you have a working holiday visa or like how did that?
So I graduated from Teachers College and then literally 3 weeks later I moved to London and I got a teaching job as a supply teacher around London. That was kind of it. I knew a lot of people that had done it before and they kind of used it as a catalyst to get into the Canadian school system. Otherwise, you'd be waiting for a long time. You had to put in so many hours. But if you moved abroad and did a few, it kind of just catalysted you home to get a permanent job. So I didn't really think of it like that. I was like, I need to get out of Toronto. I need to just get away and kind of find myself. I met some English people on my travels, and I thought I was going to go to Italy, teach there, that type of vibe. But I ended up moving to London, got a job right away. They speak English.
Yeah.
Had never been to London before, and I was like, got the visa really quickly. Let's do it. I'm gone. And that was kind of it. Yeah. So I came as a teacher. I don't even want to say a year. I don't even think I lasted a year.
Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't my first job choice.
Teaching in the UK, I feel like is tough.
It's so crazy. The school
Yeah.
system is so different. Like I know you're obviously American and like I'm Canadian, so the school system's probably a bit similar, but the school system here is crazy different. The
Yeah.
levels of from like welfare schools to private to like extra private to
I
boarding,
think the difference between the public and the private schools is also
it's
it's like
massive.
they're unrecognizable. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, the
exactly.
disparity is it's quite
Yeah.
disappointing. Yeah.
And I was working as a supply teacher as well. So I was like traveling every day, different school. And you know yourself as a student, when you get a supply teacher, sometimes you don't show up, sometimes you act out. There was
Mm,
that type of rapport going
a lot of
on.
boundary
A
testing.
lot of boundary
Yeah.
testing. A lot of the time, you're just like, please just don't show up. Like if you're doing high school, I'm like, just don't show up. Like you see me, just like keep walking. I don't know who you are. Just don't show up. So yeah, it was really tough for me. And I just didn't love it. I just didn't want to do it. Yeah,
Yeah, I
it
mean,
wasn't
I
me.
think some of these early career experiences, though, are so important, even though some of them are awful. It helps you. It's really like a vetting process. You're like, okay, teaching, definitely not my thing, not gonna go there.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's my dad was a teacher It's a great job in Canada. You get a lot of benefits, you get a lot of time off, all this stuff. I just never had that extra love that you need to give to
Hmm.
be a teacher or a great teacher. Like my dad was really great, and that's why we have such a great relationship because he like that was evoked onto me. I didn't have that to
Hmm.
give to anyone. So, yeah, that was kind of the catalyst, I guess, to be like this isn't for me. Okay, let's stop.
Yeah.
Done. It's not benefiting me, it's not benefiting anyone else. That's kind of it. And then I got a job as a recruitment agent for teachers moving abroad because that's really big in the UK. You have to
Yeah.
go through a recruitment agency.
Recruiting is
So
so big here.
it's so big here. I don't know. I don't know if it's that big. Well, maybe not.
In the
I
US,
don't know
it's
anyone who's
not a
doing
thing
it.
unless you're like a CEO type person that, or
Yeah.
like a top tier. There's recruitment in the US, but for like, people who are more entry level, whatever, it's on every rung in this country. It's such a big industry. It's so
It's
strange.
so big. Like, even just to get any type of job here, you can find a recruiter that's looking for someone.
My first few jobs in London were all through
A
recruiters,
recruiter.
and I had friends that were recruiters that hooked me up, and then yeah, so many, yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, I did that for a bit. But I hated being on the phone.
Using your voice.
I hated using my voice. I
Yeah,
hated calling everyone every day. I remember the boss at one time being like, "You're doing stuff, but are you talking to people?" And I wasn't. Like I was hiding.
yeah.
So I lasted probably a year there.
I can relate to
Um,
that.
yeah.
I had a role that was new business. It was one of my first jobs in London at an advertising agency, and I was supposed to be calling as well, like making lots of calls, and I would do anything to avoid because I hate it just for me it's
Oh,
sales,
that's what it is.
which I can do if I love what I'm selling,
Mm,
but like if I'm not into the product,
yeah.
it feels so disingenuine. Like I'm just like,
Yeah.
ew, this feels gross.
That's
Yeah.
it. That's exactly it. And I was like, why am I selling you to come to another country where I've experienced like such hardship?
Yeah.
So yeah, I didn't love it. And I've always wanted to be I was always good in wellness, like with nutrition specifically at that time. So that's when I started being like, oh, like, let's get a nutrition certificate. Let's see where this goes and kind of push that. I was also dealing with like physical, like ailments, I guess, and trying to heal myself in that aspect and like trying to expand my mind. Like all these things are coming. I know we call them rock bottoms, but when I moved to London, I hit a rock bottom. I don't really call them rock bottoms. I call them catalysts for the
Yeah.
next stage. So when I look back, I'm like,
Yeah.
okay,
It's
that
like a
really
direction
sucked.
changer.
Exactly. Yeah. I'm like, that really sucks, like over and over again. But every direction change was like
Yeah.
so needed. I wasn't
Hmm.
listening, whatever it was. And yeah, and looking back, like having certain things have been really great. But I definitely tried to like, appease other people. So I got my nutrition certificate, but I was also then found a job in investment banking working as a PA for someone. And
That had to be rock bottom.
that was rock bottom.
Okay. Yeah. That is just knowing you, that is not
That was next
aligned.
level. I had never felt so different in a negative way and so just I don't even know how to explain it. It wasn't even that I was different. It was that I was different and people were very vocal about it in the workplace.
Okay.
So I found that really difficult. Another year and I was like as soon as the year came in, I was like here's my resignation. Bye.
Yeah.
Like I'm gone. So yeah, that was quite interesting. It's yeah, definitely a time I look back and I kind of just like wave over it in my mind. I'm like, no, I didn't learn anything special during that time. It just sucked. Like it
Yeah.
just sucked. It was
Well,
definitely
you
just a
learned
people
not to
pleasing.
do what's not authentic to you,
Yeah,
probably.
exactly.
Was the
Yeah.
lesson.
Yeah. And my mom's in finance and she's very much like just make ends meet, and at that time I was just like I need to make money. This is definitely something that's like safe in that space to get a paycheck over and over again, just show up type of vibe, but
And in
it was soul
London.
crushing and it was in London. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's a real thing at the core of so many people's unhappiness in this city is that because you have to earn enough to live,
Mm.
like people end up doing work that they don't want to do. It happens a lot.
Yeah. And I
Yeah.
had never lived away from home. Like I went to university and lived at home. So moving to London was the first time I ever had to pay like my full bills, my full
Oh, and
wage.
you're so big here.
Yeah. Didn't really think twice about like the difference in price, like the conversion or anything like that. I don't want to say like young and stupid, but like young and naive and just like I know I have to do something different.
Hmm.
This is going to be it. It's going to suck. It's going to be hard, but it's actually more worth it than going home right now. So it was always kind of like a balancing scale. And there have been times where I'm like, I'm coming home, and my parents are like, no, you're not. Like, we want you to, but we
Oh,
know you're not ready, you know? So they've been great in that sense. But yeah, definitely a lot of catalysts in London.
that's really powerful. That's kind of like tough love, but like
Mm.
they knew you and they knew that you would figure it out.
Yeah, I think so. They've definitely helped me along the way with my own like money stories and family subconscious stories and stuff like that. My parents are definitely a big part of that, so they've definitely helped me along the way. But there's been two times where I was like, I'm coming home. Like, book me a flight home, I'm coming home. And they're like, no. Like, both times they're like, no. Which is really powerful and strong because my mom suffers from abandonment issues. Like, when I left, it was very hard for her. Even though I was like, bye, see you later. Like, I'm moving to another country. Didn't think twice. Later on, I kind of was like, oh, I understand now. Like, I understand where this voice of yours is coming from and all this stuff. So yeah, it's very empowering in a strange way for your parents to be like, we know you're not ready to come home. Like, don't come for us.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, definitely grateful for that. Um, but I don't know if you ever done this, your astrocartography
Yes,
like map.
I did it recently.
Oh
Yeah.
my God. Yeah. So London for me is like a place is literally when I put it into ChatGPT, it was like a place where you learn. And that
Yeah.
has been London to a T. It's never been home. It's been like it has a part of my heart, don't get me wrong, but I don't see it as my home forever. I don't see it as me like staying and like grounding and being like rooted here, but it has been a place where I am constantly expanding and learning. And I think recently, just now, I'm kind of like, okay, I'm ready to root somewhere.
Yeah.
Like I'm ready to be grounded into something. I've had enough learning. I'm done.
Yeah, I can really relate to that. I actually my astrocartography was really similar. London is very significant on mine, but it's good for it says like getting established,
Mm.
but that it can feel heavy after a long time, and that is exactly where I'm at. And my heart line, which it says is like the best place for setting up a home, is it goes down through Spain and Portugal. And I have always been so drawn to both those places, like love them so much. And that's where I'm trying to get to in my next place. So just that I've always intuitively known that. And then when I did the astrocartography, I was like, I knew it. Like, that's where I'm supposed to go.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
And both those places are so amazing as well, and also so different from London and like America. So it's quite interesting to see that you're gonna ideally end up there or like have a home there or something, or a stint of time there that you're like, okay, this
Yeah.
is it.
My Heartline also it goes by the coast of Ireland before it cuts through Spain and Portugal. It basically because I asked about Ireland as well because I'm a Fitzpatrick and I'm going to be setting up my company there and I was like, is that a good like move for me? And it said that I might still get some of the energy from my Heartline because it goes right by the coast. We'll see. We'll see how much
Amazing.
there is to that. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So good.
So do you know where your heart line is?
Yes, and it actually matches perfectly with the astrocartography.
Uh-huh.
So according to the astrocartography, and there's two countries that I've always been really drawn to, France and Japan. I haven't been to Japan yet, but they're both quite similar in my eyes in the sense of regardless of what you're doing and how you grow up or whatever it is that you're gonna have your livelihood off of, you make it into your life in the best possible way, and that evokes like such abundance. So whether you're a chef, an artist, you're like being a tea, like a matcha tea
Hmm.
farmer or whatever it is, like none of these have different levels like they do in Canada or like maybe America, where it's like, oh, you're a lawyer, you're a doctor, I'm a teacher. Like those kind of like have shapes in my head. And those two countries, these things that are so everyday, artistic, beautiful, like nature vibe, it's like, okay, I love this. I'm going to put my heart and soul into it. And whatever else comes around me is going to come around me, regardless of
Yeah.
anything. Like something will feed me at the end of the day. And I've always been drawn to that notion of
Yeah,
life.
it's such like a craft, right? Like when I think
Exactly.
about like French food and also Japanese food is like just like excellence,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Yeah. It's so precise. It's excellent. It's like everything is just so beautifully in flow. And obviously it has up and downs. But yeah, I think the end goal for me is, or what I can see right now, because obviously it could change, is somewhere in the countryside of France with a garden, living off the farm, that type of mentality. Land and space is really important to me. Um, I'm not, I love being in the city. I love like being in the hustle and bustle, but I very much need my space to think and ground.
Hmm.
So I think, yeah. And I need nature. I need
Yep,
great
same.
weather, fresh food, all that type of thing. Anything with creation, basically. And France for me is obviously closer than Japan. And it's kind of always drawn me
The
like
language might be a
to it.
little bit easier.
A little bit easier as well. I have both of them in my Duolingo, so they're kind of they're battling right now. But yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
So I don't know. We'll see.
nice. Yeah, well, that's exciting. So we could continue to be neighbors.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't see myself going back to North America, but I also never thought I'd come back to London after moving when we lived in Ireland. My partner and I lived in Ireland for 2 years, and we were both like, we're so done with London. We're like, we're
Mm,
never going back there. And then 2 years later, we're like, oh my God, we're going back. And it was this moment of like, I think, I mean, we'll probably get into this, but I think part of the journey is not fighting it,
yeah,
and really kind of sitting with yourself and being like, this is what's presenting itself. It actually feels right, even though in my mind I'm like, no, 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 like no, but like there's something that's like, okay, this is a step forward. Because I think we all see the end destination of where we want to be, but to get there, you actually need to take steps. And
yeah,
sometimes a step is taking a step backwards. Right? So for us to come back to London, I really had to sit with myself and just be like, it's going to be different than before. It's not going to be the same. I'm going to be different. I'm going to show up different. All these different things kind of had to like assemble inside me to come back. So we've been back for about a year and a half now in London, and it's been great. It's been brilliant. But again, definitely a lot of expansion, a lot of learning.
yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, and it is about allowing kind of where you're being pushed. I
I
feel
think
that a
so.
lot. Yeah. And the sort of it's what you resist persists, right?
Mm.
So like cuz I love London so much and it's throughout my life. It's been on and off since I was 6 years old coming here. And this last stint that I've been here is almost the longest. Like I've been here for just like I just hit 10 years in the city and I fought really hard to be able to stay and be here this past year, and it has been so hard. And I was like, it took quite a few moments of reckoning to be like, I'm not supposed to be here anymore. I feel
Yeah.
that now, and I know that. Like, it's
Yeah.
this should not be so hard.
Yeah. There's so many things that come into play, like even just the fact that we're in our 30s and we should be like we have all these like societal and environmental notions that kind like those kind of circle around me first. I'm like, oh, I should be married, I should have kids, I need a house, like all those things, and I'm gonna move countries again. I'm like, and I'm just like, hold on, I don't actually believe in any of that. And like coming back and circling and being like, hey, what is happening? I get this beautiful option or like flow where the world is like, hey, you're done here. Let's see what you can do somewhere else. Why am I not just allowing and having full trust and continuing to lean into that? Because every time I lean into that, my world opens up into this great space. But like you said, when we resist it, it kind of like, it's like this structure holds us in, you know what I mean? And we're just like, everything tenses, nothing goes right. And that's when we hit rock bottoms and we have these big things. But the universe is always trying to tell us something.
Yeah.
It's always there talking to us. We are just stubborn and don't really want to listen. We want to be in control.
Yeah.
right? So something when I'm really feeling like I need to be in control of my life at this, I like visually pick up my stuff and I'm like, here, universe, my control is the fact that you're in control. Like I have full faith and control, knowing that you've got it. This is what I
Yeah.
need. This is what I want. Let's see what happens. But I know you've got it. And having that trust and having that faith, that's where I direct my control is to sit in that versus being like, actually, I want to go left. Why are you pointing me right? And like kind of fighting with it.
Hmm.
So yeah, I think it's quite interesting. But I think when you can start to relax into it and surrender into your space and really just listen. Listen to what's like really what you want and step through the fear, step through that space, then that's when the big things kind of fall into place. Because right now we're both in the unknown, right? Which is so
Yeah.
scary for people. Being in the unknown is so scary
Yeah.
because we're not technically in control, right? We don't have a 5-year plan. We don't have this. Like, okay, I want to move to France. Okay, I want to have kids. I want to get married. But I don't care if I get married in 10 years.
Yeah.
I don't care if I move to France tomorrow. Like these things don't have to be so structured. And I think we also are in the space like, okay, London's not for us, but I'm not really at the place where I can be like, okay, France, like next month either. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? So
Yeah.
you're kind of in this like limbo, and it's like, how do I sit in this space where I know where I am and I don't like it? I know I want to grow and I know where I want to be, but I'm like here. And I think the present moment is the hardest moment.
Yeah.
It really
I
is.
think, I mean, you have had so many big moves, and so have I. So, like, I do have a couple of friends that have said, "Oh, you're so brave." Like, this is, and I'm just feel like I don't, for me, it's not really about bravery anymore at this point. And I know it's going to be fine, whatever happens. I know that now. And I've done this so many times. I just know that I'm not supposed to be here anymore. And I'm following like the pebbles of what makes the most sense logically for my next steps. And then also, it's such a strong desire. I have been talking about living in like Southern Europe or like the Mediterranean, having that kind of a lifestyle since I was like 10. I have
Amazing.
always talked about it, and there's no time like the now. There is nothing keeping me tied here anymore, and so it's time. So, yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. You touched on your money story when you were talking about your parents. What would you say that looks like for you? Like, what was the programming that you learned around money from your parents and like that supply teacher, investment banking, like what were the lessons that you learned from that? Did you have to unprogram stuff or yeah,
Yeah.
sorry, long
So,
question.
no, that's okay. Money has definitely been the top thing I wanted to manifest, always.
Mm,
Like some people, it's like usually the big two things are money or love, right? I was always manifesting love since I was a little kid, and fortunate to find my partner. But money was always something that I just didn't understand. I felt really far away from it. It showed up when I wanted to, it didn't when it wanted to. That was kind of it. And I think when I moved to London and I went through all these stages of being really broke, like not being able to pay rent, that type of situation, asking my parents, leaning on things, picking up random jobs, I went into like victimhood mentality. Like,
mm,
why me? Like I like all my friends are doing. I was fortunate enough to have my best friend move here as well. She came to visit me when I moved to London, met her partner, and then moved to London to be with him. And she's
aw,
still here, but she's had such a completely different like
experience.
life and experience. One of financial abundance, always being around her, where I was completely different. So I went into like complete victimhood. Like why not me? What's wrong with me? All these like things kind of went in. And having really leaned into like my money story. Money was a few different things for me. I think this is where we get stuck, where we're like, oh, this is such a one subconscious programming. My money story was like a spider web. And it was so different in every different aspects of my life. My first memory of money is my grandfather giving me a hug, telling me he loves me, and giving me money.
Mm,
Like physical, like tangible thing of like a $20 bill because in, I don't know, in Italian culture, your nonni, your grandparents, like every time you see them, they give you like $2, a fiver, whatever it is, right? Like they're just like, here, they feed you and they give you a little bit of cash and you're happy. So my first memory of money is like my grandfather telling me he loves me and letting me money. And I was like, okay, cool, like whatever. Money is love, right? I grew up with that. I grew up with money being value. If you have a lot of money, you're more valuable. If you don't have money, you're not valuable.
Yeah.
Um, I did grow up in like a different household where my mom was more the horse in the family and like made the money, and my dad was a bit more laid back and like still made money, but she was very much the bank
Yeah.
aspect, where my dad
That's
was
a
kind of
good
more,
example. I'm like, a non-traditional that
yeah,
your
in
mother
that
earned
sense,
more. Yeah, so that's good.
definitely. I think it was because she came to Canada when she was 16, really had to fight for herself to be here, didn't know the language, like she put herself through university, all that type of thing, like a
Mhm.
proper immigrant. And it made her really strong and really determined. And till this day, she's constantly working. Where my dad was a bit more, he found his passion work, as a teacher. He loved it. He really enjoyed it. He loved going to work every day. He made what he made, that type of thing. So it was really interesting to see that growing up. We were also robbed by other family members when we were kids. So money to me made my family sad. It made people do things that they
Oh,
didn't want to do or like do bad things. Like there's that type of thing going on. That was a big piece of my money story, where it was just different levels of what was going on in my subconscious and what this one tangible thing of money represented.
yeah. Especially the being robbed by family. That's
Yeah.
a really hard one to sit with.
Yeah. It
Yeah.
was really quite difficult because basically our cousins, the dad of the cousins basically stole my dad's identity, took out a bunch of credit cards and like that type of thing. But I was really close with his son. Like we were like twins, you know
Mhm.
what I mean? So money also meant abandonment. Like if I have it, that means someone I love is going to go away.
Mm,
And that came out so strong with my relationship, like really, really strong. We got closer in our relationship and money got further away from me because I was like, if I have it, if I have any type of money, he's going to leave. But if I don't have it, then I'm not valuable. So why is he staying with me? So there's like contrast constantly with my money story
mm.
until I really like broke it down. And originally my biggest block is money, but actually it's safety. I never felt safe. Safe in my body, safe in my environment, safe in this world, safe to use my voice, safe to be seen for my art, for what I really wanted. Just my core wound when I strip everything down is safety and abandonment.
Okay.
That's it. Even though my parents never left me, like I don't have any of that story, thankfully. That kind of goes more into like spiritual aspect of things, yeah. So
Yeah.
those are my core
Well,
things.
and it's also even just on the family uh like with the robbery, it's like the people that you love and trust the most will take from you, right? So that
Yeah.
plays into the safety as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Really,
hard.
really difficult. And also getting into a bit more spiritual stuff, ancestral healing
Mm,
vibes. I realized later on when I was getting into this work that my mom, my grandmother, and my great grandmother, and probably like from there before, they chose true love over money. So my mom and my grandmother were actually engaged to other people who were really, really wealthy
hmm.
before they either met my dad or decided to go with my grandfather, who were definitely not as wealthy, let's say, more
Yeah,
like middle class, working class. So they were constantly like, so in the spiritual sense, they were picking love over money.
yeah,
And my boyfriend is great. He does great for himself, but I chose true love. So every time we got
yeah,
closer and closer in our love, money got further and further.
yeah,
Like I can just feel it like stripping away and like just being quiet. And when I was single, money was flowing, money was coming through, you know. And I definitely was just like, am I meant to be single? Is like, am I never gonna make any money unless I'm
yeah.
single? And I was like, this is
Or it
bullshit.
feels like it's almost like because that's sort of in your history or your ancestral history, that it's like you feel like you have to choose
Right,
love or money,
right,
but it's kind of reconciling, wait, deep down, you need to somehow absolve that you can have both.
exactly.
I don't know how you
Yeah.
do that, but yeah. It's a,
That's where I come
I
in
would like
as a
to figure that
coach.
out too.
That's where I come in with my energetic work and help you clear that path. Yeah,
Yeah.
of ancestral stuff. So yeah, when I cleared that stuff for me and my family, energetically, that was quite brilliant. That was something that I was just like, holy, how have I never noticed that? You know what I mean? There's those moments where you're like, how have I never seen that before?
Yeah.
And they always align up and they always come in divine timing. Because if someone were to tell me that 3 years ago, I'd be like, this is like, I'm not there yet. This is BS. Like, what are you trying to tell me? Like, you know what I
Hmm.
mean? And then more recently, I was like, oh my God, this is here for me to give this work to other people. I need to clear this. Great. So yeah.
Yeah, and I want to add that Amanda did a session with me. So we did some like cord cutting and some unblocking with Reiki. Reiki. I feel like I never say it right.
It is Reiki, yeah. So I don't know what to call it coaching. I don't resonate with that label, but
Yeah,
anyways, whatever I do for other people is basically, it's definitely an energetic peel, let's say. So Reiki,
yeah,
we deal with the chakras, right? The seven chakras, and you deal to balance the chakras. This, and for you as well, was more of a let's get rid of anything that's not serving you anymore. See what comes forward, and can we just trust and let the universe, spirit, God, your higher self, get rid of all this stuff that you've come in with. So my beliefs are that like not that earth is school, but we all have karma. And I'm not saying like karma's a bitch, it's gonna bite you in the ass, none of that. Karma's good, karma's bad. We just have like this level in us where we need to expand. And it could be really, really low and we need to get really, really high, or it can be high and we just have a few things to expand on, right? So we all come in with it. And in order for us to like step through into this next stage, into like other stages, it just depends on what we've come to do, basically how much we're willing to take on for other people. So I think you're quite similar, and this is why healers kind of show up and do this work and we find it more traumatic and stuff like that, is because we're actually clearing stuff for our family. We're
yeah,
clearing stuff for other people. We're clearing stuff for other like soul contracts. Everyone knows what a twin flame is. Well, we actually have soul contracts as well that are friends, that are neighbors, that are bosses, people that come in to help us expand and teach us. Um, and everything is like divinely timed out and like perfectly situated, and you're triggered for the right reasons. Your tests are there for the right reasons. And it's so important to kind of just ground yourself, even when you're hitting this rock bottom or this catalyst moment, to be like, okay, I'm like in the dumps. It sucks. Don't get me
yeah,
wrong, but I'm here for a reason. What can I learn? Because that's what it's teaching you. It's like where I'm not listening. I'm listening now because I'm forced to listen. Where can I step forward? And that's when you start to like expand, expand your energy, clear the karma. So what I kind of do is a bit of past life regression, ancestral healing, Reiki's included in that. But I'm not like a healer. You're doing the work. I'm just the vessel. It's just coming through me and into you and that type of thing. You can do this by yourself. It's just how much you believe in it, how charged you are,
mm,
right? We want to be in control. So sometimes when we hear things, when we're in that state by ourselves, we're like, no, 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 that's not it. But actually, we need to just allow it to come through, right? Even when we have negative thoughts or negative chatter, like you said, the more we resist, it persists. It gets louder.
yeah,
Instead of allowing it to come through and being like, okay, what's this worst case scenario that I'm having in my head that I'm trying to block? Okay, let's just see it through. And then you can laugh about it. You're like, this is not it. Like, okay, cool, thanks, bye. And it never shows up again. So what I do, I guess, for people again who come and see me is like, okay, what are you working on in your life right now? Where are you? What do you want to let go of if there's anything specific? And allowing yourself to let go of it and trust that the universe is like taking it. We also learn, I think, especially like I'm a hypnotherapist, and in our hypnotherapy we learn to go back in time. We learn to like a lot of inner child work, a lot of subconscious stuff, and we're constantly digging and digging into the back of our brains,
hmm,
and we're constantly bringing that forward and coming like in that type of healing. I've expanded into a space where it's like, I have money issues. Let me go and sit with myself and allow spirit to take that away. I don't need to know specifics. I
Yeah.
need to know this is triggering me. I need to trust that the universe is going to take that and like dissolve it. So that's what we did in our session.
Yeah.
And through that, you feel like, oh, this came forward for me, that came forward for me. I heard things and felt things that we spoke about in our session, right, for you, that ideally resonated. I mean, you can speak more
Yeah.
about it as a one
It
to
was
as you did
very
a one-to-one.
emotional, but I felt a lot lighter afterwards. Like I
Right.
definitely, because I was going away for the weekend. We did it on like a Friday, and like
Mm,
it was like a reset for me when we finished, and then I think I took a nap. I was really like wiped out from it, and then I got ready to go see my friend who I haven't seen in a while, and I had a spring in my step. It was needed. It was really
yeah.
helpful. Yeah.
So good. Yeah. That's the other thing too. I think when we do a lot of inner work, we can feel so drained. I
Yeah.
know I have, constantly going inside and I'm just like, I'm exhausted. My brain doesn't want to work anymore. I don't want to work anymore. This type of work, you you have that release, that emotional release, that therapeutic release, but you have space for flow. You know what I mean? You don't leave it on like such a I don't want to say a downer, but like it's as you're clearing, you're allowing. That's
Yeah.
the best way I can put it. As you're clearing, you're allowing. And I think it's something that we should remember is like we're never stuck. Stuff is never stuck on you. It's circling you, it's going through you, it's lingering, but it's constantly in flow. And if we just need to allow things to flow. Just allow things to kind of flow. And that's when it's a great time to work with a therapist, work with a healer, go for a Reiki session, go for a walk. When you're feeling the most stuck, it's kind of like, okay, I can't do this anymore by myself.
Yep.
That's where we usually come in, which is amazing. Um, because I mean, as any type of healer or therapist, we've been through it. We have our own stories. And I think we can appreciate that the people are trying to do the work. And I know for me, my healing story is so crazy and quite long for so many reasons,
Mm.
but there was always something missing,
Yeah.
until I got to this coaching stage. And then I was like, okay, I finally found it. I finally expanded into where my beliefs, my whole entire system has come out of this space. And now I can like bring that to other people. So when people come see me, it's quite interesting, I guess. I don't know how to explain it really.
Yeah.
We deal with what is in front of us at the time. I do a quick download. I see what's around. You tell me a bit about yourself and what's like circling you or really hard or nothing at all. That's fine. And we clear it and we go from there.
When you say you do a download, what does that look like? How do you do that?
So I just have like a little script, but I basically close my eyes, take a few deep breaths, and like ground myself. And then my main so we all want purpose, right? And I think this is where we have a hard time receiving money when we're healers is because, oh, my purpose work is like heartfelt work. I don't need money for it. And
Well,
that's
and
why we
it's
have
you and
this.
I both just acknowledged earlier that specifically like a sales role feels
Mm,
so unaligned. It is really hard
yeah.
to like,
I'm trying to
yeah.
explain it like what I do, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm finding it so difficult to actually get the words out. And then
Yeah.
hopefully the energy is circulating and people are like, okay, let me try it myself. But when I do a download, I basically just ask for my ego and my logic to be removed and to be used as the vessel for this person, for this client. It's not about me. It's not about my journey. It's not about me at all. And that's in that moment. It is, I'm here to help create better energy in the world. Let's help you feel that. Let's help you expand into that awareness. You know what I mean? Whatever your beliefs are, whatever you're going through, that kind of is irrelevant to me. It's the same for every person. That is the main core message. So I close my eyes. I have my little script where I get into this little state. And then I ask, is there anything I need to know? And I'll just write down a few things that come through and we get into the session and we go from there. And usually they line up pretty easily.
Wow.
Um, and then after the session, even with you, I messaged you like an hour later because I was
Yeah.
getting like this voice. It was just like, you need to message her and tell her this. And I'm like, okay. It's like, do I? She knows. I'm like, she knows. That's my other issue. I'm like, people know. I'm like, people like, I don't need to say this, but then
Yeah,
usually
no,
are just
that's
like, oh my
again, that's
God.
like the using your voice, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, really.
Yeah, but I
So
really
yeah.
liked I appreciated your message. I appreciated it. Yeah.
Yeah. I've also always done this. I've also had like I've always been the healthy person in the group, through nutrition, through like
Mm.
physical stuff, and I've also been silenced for it. So when I kind of
Uh,
say things sometimes, I'm like, am I stepping out of character? Am like who am I to say this to you?
yeah.
So
It's kind of like, am I giving unsolicited advice, right?
yeah,
Which,
that's it as well.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, that as well. And I'm like, what am I gonna get back? So when I got into coaching when I first started, I was just like, oh my God, like people are gonna think I'm X, Y, and Z. People are gonna like yell at me, all this stuff. Like, how much can I say? And that kind of over time dissipates and you get more confident in what you can say, which clients you want to keep as well. I think when you first start out, you're taking everyone. And then closer to the middle
yes,
and the end, you're like, actually, I do not need to work with you. We're not meant to work together,
yeah.
which is super empowering. But
As you step into your power and know your skills more, people start to come to you instead of you're just like, I need clients, I'll take whoever I can get. Once you've established yourself as an authority and then there's word of mouth, whatever, the right people start coming to you and you don't have to do as much. Yeah.
yeah. And we spoke about this before as well. Like a reason it's not that I stepped back in coaching. I was hitting a roadblock basically. And there was something with the word coaching that I was constantly changing.
Yeah.
And I was just like, okay, I'm hitting this block, I'm hitting this block. And I sat with myself and I'm like, why? And I love the word why. I've always asked myself, why does this work? Why do you use that tool? Like ever since I was a kid. And I think that really helped me with my conscious mind. I was so curious about like this voice in my head that was like really negative or really happy or like telling me to do something or telling me not to do something. I was like, what is this? And as I got older, obviously I understood and expanded a bit more, but my parents were never spiritual or vocal about any of that stuff.
Yeah.
It was just something you learned, right? Like I grew up with an immigrant mom who's like, I had a really hard life. I'm going to make your life easier in the spaces that I needed it to be easier, but your life is still going to be hard,
Yep.
you know? That type of thing. But basically, when I took a step back from coaching, I was like, okay, let me just get rid of that word coach for a second. And my whole body just relaxed. And I was just like, oh, that actually feels really nice because
Yeah.
I was trying to be, well, the number one rule as a human in any type of entrepreneurial thing is if you're not making money or getting clients, you're not marketing yourself properly. Right. So I was trying to market myself properly. I was trying to like reach out to people and put more stuff on social media. And I felt so drained by it,
Mm.
like completely shut off
If
by
it's
it.
draining you, that's such a good indicator because it's not a reciprocal balanced relationship, right? It's
No,
taking from you and it's not filling you back up.
exactly.
Yeah.
I felt so hard. And I love Instagram. I love social media because I'm a visual person. So I love using it for art. I love photography. I love putting my story out there in little visuals. I love that aspect. But for me to be like, I'm a coach and I'm doing this, this, and that, that felt so just not me, not authentic to me. So I took a step back from the coach word and I was like, ooh, okay. And I was like, close my eyes and I was like, what do I want to do every day? Just fully. Like, I'm living in France, let's say, what am I doing every day? And I was like, can I narrow it down to one word? And the word that yelled at me was create.
Mm.
And I was just like, wow, right? I'm a manifester in my human design. I'm a full manifester. I'm a Leo in like all these different spaces. And I was like, I moved back to London and I have not created anything in
Mm.
almost over 2 years. Because I was living in Ireland, I had like a holistic bakery. So I
Yeah.
was baking, I was using my hands. I was like creating all the cakes and the recipes, and I was putting my nutrition. And I was like, this is my life. This is great. I'm using all my bits. I'm putting my energy into it. I was using herbal medicine. I was doing the visuals, the Instagram. All these things were kind of like working in a space. And then I got to London and I was like, holy, I haven't picked up my camera. I haven't created anything. I haven't baked in a year. I haven't done anything. And I just kind of rolled with it. And I was like, okay, if I'm creating, what am I creating? And it was like art, like straight up, you're creating art. And I've always seen my life as my greatest art piece. I
Hmm.
went to art school when I was a kid. Like I went to elementary school, and then I really needed to get out of elementary school because I was heavily, heavily picked on when I was a kid. It was like very traumatic. And I was like, I cannot go to the high school that everyone is going to. Plus, my dad worked at that high school, and I was like, this is not
Oh,
for me.
yeah.
And art has always bailed me, not bail, I'm going to say this, art has always bailed me out of traumatic situations. So
It saved
I,
you.
it saved me.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's always been my authentic voice that I should just keep following. So I had the opportunity to apply for an art school in a different region that I had to take a bus, like all these things, right? And I had no fear of showing my art, no fear of making my portfolio, of going there, of like having been interviewed. Like I was in grade 8. You know what I mean? I'm so
Yeah.
young, leaving all these people behind, like
Wow,
didn't
yeah.
care, all this stuff. Got in, went to art school. I ended up going to university for visual arts, but it's always been, and in art, like I was saying, in art, basically, every art class you take, there is a part of it that's a self-expression. Whether it's you're doing your own portrait over and over again, or you're putting yourself into the art, there's always a piece of you that's coming out. And in art school, we did every semester, it was like, okay, take a photograph and make it be your self portrait and show us who you are. Or so I actually have like a timeline of
Oh,
photos,
that's cool.
yeah, or like pictures or something of me from when I was younger, and like going through all this artistic and like dramatic and like just hormonal like young girl and all these things. And my Instagram kind of reflects that as well. And then that's all I wanted to do. When I figured out that word was create, I was like, I just want to create. And I didn't have any questions of like how this is going to work, where the money was going to come from. It was like, just follow that. So I had to get to a space where I could allow myself to understand that that's going to be my life,
Yeah. And to trust.
because, and to trust it, because
Yeah.
I grew up in a family where it's like, go to university, get a job.
Yeah. Same.
Art is not a means to a living. Both my brother and I are very artistic, and he's a lawyer now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was very much go to university, get a job. Okay, do art, but like whatever. So it was very interesting to come to that realization, to step into that space. And then I actually got a job recently working in a kitchen, which I thought was interesting. I never worked in a kitchen before, but I'm creating. I'm being seen for my creations.
Are you enjoying it?
I'm loving it.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it's crazy. The hours are a bit wild. But it feels so right.
Yeah.
Even
And
if it's
you're
just like a
working with
bridge,
your hands again,
and
too.
I'm working with my hands
Yeah.
again, and I'm visually seeing stuff, and I'm taking photos. And I did like a few paintings of the cafe recently. Like all this inspiration is just coming through from me. I'll finish like a long day from like 7 to 6, get home, I'm knackered, and I actually have energy to like go to the gym and paint before bed.
Wow.
And I'm just like, who am I? Like, this is not me. Usually I'm
Yeah.
resting. Usually I'm like, there's all this energy that's like flowing, and I'm tired, I'm this, I'm whatever. So all those little things are very much, what's the word? Not like confident. They're just like, I'm lost for words now.
It's an indicator. Yeah, it's an indicator
Exactly.
when you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, it literally
Exactly.
energizes you,
Yeah.
especially from a human design perspective. I'm a generator, and so that
Yeah.
is like exactly what if I'm not doing something that energizes me, then I'm not supposed to do it.
Yeah. My
Yeah,
partner's a generator as well, and
yeah,
he's the same. If it doesn't energize him, he's like the complete opposite of himself. And I'm like, oh my God, this is where like as a manifester, you take time for yourself. Like
yeah,
when you need to like step away from everyone and the world and shut off, even if it's for 2 weeks, and then you're back and you're like, I'm back, I'm a Leo, I'm here, whatever it is. But usually it's like you're okay to rest in that space. I know a lot of people have like resting guilt. I don't. I'm just like, this
yeah,
is nice. I need this. Like, let me go and like be by myself. It takes me a lot to like step out and be social. So this job is really, because it's an open kitchen as well, you're
Oh, that's
on display. Yeah,
yeah,
you have to come see. I know it's far from you, but you have
yeah.
to come out one day.
But yeah, so you're being seen the whole
I'm being
time.
seen. Yeah, being
Yeah, so
seen.
you
I'm
are
having
like
to use
being
my
recharged.
voice.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah. And I don't think that would have came through if I didn't clear this aspect of myself. A lot of ancestral stuff. I had a few really big past life regressions come forward that I
Mhm.
really had to get through to understand that safety piece,
Yeah.
like really, really big. So that was quite nice.
Did you do those to yourself?
So I had this woman do it for me first, and
Okay.
then I did it.
Okay.
Yeah, because I didn't fully believe in it before.
Yeah.
I was really like, I'm here. This is all that matters. I've never had one of those. I know some people are like, oh, I walked this street before. I used to live here before. I was this in another life. I never really had any of that stuff.
Yeah.
I was
I
always
have
quite
some
like,
friends that have done some past life regressions, and it's things that were previously unexplainable about their personality or whatever. It just made so much sense.
yeah,
I think,
that's kind of
yeah.
what happened with me. I've always been quite witchy since I was a
Hmm.
kid. I really resonated with like witches on TV and like covens, and in Italian culture the women have like this superpower called malocchio. And it's like the evil eye, right? The bracelet of the evil eye.
Hmm.
And they can get rid of it for you. And like certain women have the power and certain women don't and stuff. So I've always grown up in households where like if I had a headache, my grandmother would like call her nun who knew how to do it. And I'd be like on the phone and this woman is like speaking in tongue. Like that was just like my normal.
Wow.
Yeah, or my grandmother would do this thing where she would get a bowl of water and she would put 3 drops of oil and then she would do matches on the oil. And if the oil came together, that means that someone was speaking ill about you and you had malocchio, right? It's energy. Malocchio is energy.
Wow.
So yeah, and then she would like, say something and go make you do something else, right? With salt. So those things are always like embedded into me from my grandmother. And my mom was not so much into it. She was very more grounded in like this earth. And I was just like, this is amazing. This is so cool. Like, I'm so
Yeah.
witchy, all this stuff. And I kind of expanded into that, I guess, in a really big way. So when I did some past life stuff, it was witch wounds. That was my thing,
Yeah.
being persecuted for trying to heal people, trying to use my voice differently, that type of thing. So I had two really big ones, both witch wounds that were coming forward. And I believe our souls are really old. I believe we come into this earth multiple times until we're gone to the next stage of whatever it is. So I knew when I came into this one, I didn't fully want to. I didn't feel ready. I can feel myself just being like kicked off the cliff basically from the universe being
Like
like,
you
this is
wanted
going to
to
help
stay
you,
and chill out
right?
more.
But I wanted to stay. I wasn't ready. They call it the resting stage when you're up
Yeah.
there. So I
Wow.
had a lot of really a hard time being seen and being in this world,
Hmm.
right? So when I opened
Yeah, no
up
wonder you didn't
my
want to come back.
didn't want to come back. When I opened up my Akashic records, that's what you do, right? For past life
Mhm.
regression, you open up your Akashic records. Um, that's what came forward so strongly, and I could just feel it. Like everything resonated, and I was never really grounded in my body. I always had like a really hard time with like my menstrual cycle and receiving money and stuff like that, right? And I remember when I did this, the voice was just like, "You're not fully in the earth, and yet you want earthly things." Right? So like of this earth, we have like a few things, which is money, our body, and our ego. When we leave Earth, our body stays, money stays, our ego stays. Like these are just earthly human things,
Yeah.
right? And these were the things that I was wanting. I wanted to have like a house and like be a mom eventually, like all these things. I wanted to have money. And I just felt so far away from it. And even my menstrual cycle every month was just like, okay, like just making such a kerfuffle of it. And I remember when I did this, that voice was just like, well, you're not fully grounded in yourself. Like, how can you expect to receive if you're not fully in this earth? And
Wow.
then from there on, I fully planted 2 feet on this earth and I was like, okay, I'm here. Like, I'm safe to be here. And every time I get triggered, it's always from safety. So I'm always like, you're safe. Even
Same.
when I went to the cafe to like have the first interview, I had like heart palpitations and I was like, I don't really get anxiety, but I get like nervous and I'm like freaking out inside. And I was like, hold on. This is a safety thing. And I just like took 2 seconds. I'm like, you're safe to be seen. You're
Yeah.
safe to like speak about your past, you know? I had another interview at another cafe a couple of months ago, and I felt so old. I'm only 34. I'm not old, okay? But everyone was quite young, and they looked
Yeah.
at me up and down, and that was the first thing. I was like, "You're old. You're working at a cafe. You're old. Why don't you have a career?" Like all these voices came into my head, right?
Mhm.
Um, of why don't you have this, and that? And I was like, actually, I'm safe to be where I am. Like this is authentic to me. And once I get that safety piece down, I don't need to know what my inner child have gone through. That's all they want is safety.
Yeah.
Safety. And once I learned that, that's when things started to flow abundantly. Opportunities, people, money, all these things flew in. But before that, it was just a constant rejection, or like I always felt like there was this wall, and on the stuff on the other side was kind of like pinging off the wall. Like money was coming and it was like flowing, but it was like, oh, no, not ready, not ready,
Yeah.
type of thing. And it was because I was never grounded in my body. I never felt safe.
Yeah. It's also interesting because of what you said earlier about when you're working with people, it's kind of like it's not so necessary to know all the specifics. It's just helping to kind of unblock it, right? And it's what you just touched on just now with not needing to get into the specifics. You just need to feel safe and then everything will flow. And I think
Exactly.
that that is very much like a missing link and something I see a lot as a therapist. It's really exhausting to like sit down and talk about it bit by bit by bit by bit and pick it all apart. And sometimes people are just like, just clear it. Like,
Yeah,
I just want to feel better. And so I've
exactly.
always, for me as a therapist, it's like a missing link for me of a skill that I want to learn to be able to use with people. Like, I really enjoyed the EMDR when I did that because it was like I don't actually have to tell my EMDR therapist everything that happened. I just have to picture in my mind what I want to work through and then do the EMDR thing and it helps to unblock it. And I think that with Reiki, that's a really good and the past life regression, all of that, it just kind of comes up and is like, okay, you can be unblocked now.
Yeah, I think so as well. I think with people I've seen as well when they book in one, because I have two different offerings, but when they just book a one-to-one, just a one-off session with me, we barely speak.
Yeah.
Because it's not that it doesn't matter. It's not that I'm not interested in, like, I don't want you to tell me things. I'm very much like, message me, talk to me. But if you use that as your crutch, you'll stay there.
Yeah.
And that's what it is. I think that's why I had a hard time with coach as a label. So I'm
Hmm.
like, this is my label. I have to get to this point. I'm not doing this. And it was like this thing that I was trying to meet all the time. And I've done that in the past. Like I've used my sickness or my menstrual cycle or my gut health as like this crutch. And I'm never going to evolve from it because this is who I am. And this is like, I keep identifying as this. But I remember I was like reading this book and I found it so interesting and it really expanded me. And it was like, it was this therapist, I can't remember their name, but they worked with people with addiction. And they found that when you are going through rehab of any addiction, smoking, alcoholism, if you consider yourself a past addict or an addict, I was an addict, you'll always stay there.
Yeah.
Versus that was my life before. I am now sober and this is who I am. Like, so I took that as that can be used for anything, right? So if I was always told I was a very shy kid. I was very shy, I didn't talk a lot, all this stuff. And I was like, I always use that as my crutch. I'm not going to go for big things because I'm shy. I'm not going to put myself forward because I'm shy. And then I was like, am I actually shy? Like, I'm sat here in a podcast talking about
Yeah.
my spiritual life in another world. Am I actually shy? I was like, oh no, I'm not. This was just a label that was put onto me, and I use that as my crutch not to do better.
Yeah. Well, it's
So,
also about feeling safe though, right? And like
yeah,
we know each
definitely.
other and this is a safe space.
Yeah, of course, always. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely. I definitely feel safe in this
Yeah.
environment and to speak out now, don't get me wrong. But I think, yeah, when we start to label ourselves and we start to hold these blocks as crutches,
Mm.
we can't evolve from it. So I've always just taken a step back. You know, when I'm like really stuck and I'm just like, I'm not going anywhere. what is the same thing that's happening over and over again? What is the test that's being put in front of me over and over again? Okay, take a step back and then be like, almost like play the detective, but you have to detach from yourself, detach from the emotions, detach from all the like just go through it. But I'm this, but I'm that. Okay, are you? Take a step back. What if you're not? I think I always had issues with my menstrual cycle. I've always had issues with my gut. And I remember my friend using that once, not as against me, but she's like, oh, Amanda can't eat this, and that because her gut sucks. And I was like known for that,
Mm.
right? And I was like, I'm like the healthiest person. Why does my gut suck? Like, why do I keep telling myself this? You know what I mean? And that's when I like took a step back and I was like, hold on. I'm like continuing to step into this space because this is what I've been told, because I've been here before, because it keeps me safe, right? I don't have to push my boundaries. I don't have to step out of my comfort zone, step through fear. I know where I'm like my limit is.
Hmm.
Obviously, this is a very strange analogy of my gut, but I think if you have these labels, if you write them down and you're just like, okay, these are the things that I am continually stuck on. These are the things that I'm continuing like trying to work on. What am I actually telling myself? Who am I actually telling myself that I am? And actually, where's my authentic voice in this?
Yeah. So coach felt like kind of like a limiting title for you. I also think with coach specifically, there is a lot of social stigma around that title
Yeah.
because it's still like such an unregulated field. And
Mm.
there's a lot of, people that frown on, because it's in some areas, it's quite easy to get a coaching qualification very quickly and
Yeah.
it's in every industry. So there's some really renowned, well, highly regarded, respected coaches, but then there's other people that are like, oh, they're a life coach. Like I
Yeah.
have a friend who's working through something that wants to be a business coach, but like you has so much resistance and they don't want to call themselves that. They're like, what can I call myself? I don't want to be
Yeah.
a coach.
It's so difficult because I'm I have all these things under my belt, but I don't consider myself like a nutritionist. I don't consider myself a hypnotherapist. I'm not a therapist. Saying I'm a healer is also pushing my limits because I'm not
Yeah,
doing it. You're doing it, right? I'm
yeah.
just the flow that's helping you channel through it, you know?
Yeah, it's hard to find the
So
title. I get
yeah.
it.
So
Yeah.
I was calling myself like a cosmic coach for a while because I was like, oh, I have that little cosmic thing in front of it. But as soon as I removed that, I was like, oh, okay, I'm just me. If you find me and you find my page and you align with me, then that's beautiful. Because I think also my style of what I do, and maybe you can attest to this because obviously I know you've worked through like different healers and modalities. I think you probably have to go through a certain types of modalities to get to me.
Yeah.
I'm not your first pick. You know
No,
what I
I
mean?
think the kind of people that would be attracted to you would have already done quite a
Yeah,
lot of healing. And
I
like
think so as
all the
well.
mainstream stuff, they will have tried
Yeah,
first.
I
Yeah.
think so as well. Yeah, because if I've always had this thing where I'm going to do things myself, right?
Hmm.
And I think this led from probably from like elementary school when I was like picked on, but for my gut and like hormonal issues, no one was listening to me, and the voice in my head was like, "You're going to do it yourself." So I've always had this thing where I'm like, I have my own standards. And I think in the bakery business as well, because I was so holistic, I went out into the world and saw if anyone's going to do the same thing as I was going to do, basically. Like, where are my standards in this world? So when it came to coaching, it's like, who do I want to be? What voice do I want? Who would I go to if I was on the other end? And what would I want them to experience? Like, what would I want myself to experience? So I think definitely I am, because I've done certain modalities as well and they got me to certain places and I do love them. I definitely, like you said, I think I'm the person that people are going to be like, I've tried everything.
Yeah.
Now what? And that's where I come in. Find me, my link in the bottom.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll put all of Amanda's information in the show notes as well.
Yeah.
So thank you for that was like a lot of information, which is really helpful. I like to wrap it up with just advice. So thinking back on you touched on quite a few low points, sort of rock bottoms or direction changing moments. But if you think back to your what was probably like the worst one, what advice would you now in your current position give to yourself then?
So, what advice would I give my rock bottom self, my
Hmm.
past? I think, and this will probably trigger some people, but I think understanding that life is not that hard in
Ooh,
the sense that everything is for you and for your best interest. Even if you're going through something that's like extremely traumatic and stuff like that, the universe, the world, God, whatever you believe in, does not want you to feel as low as you probably do. That is not the end goal. And I think that's why, as a Catholic, I grew up obviously in the Catholic Church. I stepped far away from the church because anything that's going to put fear mongering into you, I'm
yeah,
like, that is not an abundant, unconditional love space. I believe in God. I don't believe that the earth church is a representative of God and its
I
teachings.
agree. Yeah, I think that about any religion.
Any religion, exactly. So I think if you're coming from that space where my life is going to be hard because I deserve it to be hard, it will be hard.
Mm,
But actually, self love, and it sounds so corny, but when you really dig into that self love piece and being like, why don't I love myself? Why am I not showing up for myself? Why am I self sabotaging? All these like really intense questions, allow them to come forward and allow yourself to step into that space that life is supposed to be fun. Life is supposed to be like flowy and abundant. And even if you're not like a millionaire right now, just look around and see this crazy world that's like all creation and imagination all around you. All these things are available to you. We just have to allow ourselves to receive them. So I
yeah.
think that's where people block the most. I learned this lesson really big when I met my partner because I just didn't think I deserved love like that. I
Mm,
really didn't when it came to the core. I was like, I don't deserve this love. Like, why is he with me? Don't have any money. Like, all these things came forward. And I realized that actually I was the one that was telling myself that I didn't deserve it. He's never felt that way. I've always felt that way. Why? So when I really stepped into that self love piece of like, oh, actually, I am amazing. I am this. I am that. I have all these things. Okay, cool. Like, my life hasn't been the norm, but I'm so grateful for it. I get to wake up every morning and create something. I get to up every morning and step outside and breathe fresh air. All these amazing things. And even if you're in that point of your life where everything seems so daunting, and I've been there, like crying
yeah.
on the floor, like, why is this fucking happening over and over again? Screaming and pleading with the universe. Just take a second and breathe and try to ask yourself just those deep questions of, why is this showing up? What is this teaching me? Because if it's teaching you something, if it's showing up, and even if it's negative, that's the universe trying to speak to you. And that's the universe trying to expand you.
Yeah.
And that's the universe showing you love. So there's always love, regardless of the situation that you're in. So I think, yeah. And there's always someone to talk to. Like, message me, you can message Megan. Like, there's always someone around who's been
Yeah.
through it and can relate and bring you back to that space of, okay, that love. Because that's what the world's energy is, right? It's that heart piece, that love piece. All the modalities that we do, regardless of what they are, they bring you back to your heart.
Yeah.
Even when you're working out, it's like, get your heart rate up. Like, everything is back to your heart space.
Yeah.
So we really need to connect with that. We really need to
And
allow.
connecting with other hearts as
Of
well,
course,
right?
yeah,
It's
definitely,
like
yeah,
any of these modalities, it's about asking for help, right? Because you don't want to do
exactly.
it alone anymore. So,
Exactly. We're
yeah.
all in it together, regardless. There's that saying that a healer is only two steps ahead of you. So we've
Yeah.
we've been through it. If we haven't been through it, we probably wouldn't be the healers that we are. People just don't land into therapy. They've been through something to get to that point to help other people. So yeah, I think stepping into that unconditional love piece is really hard for people, and it was really hard for me. Like,
Mm,
always really hard for me. for a million reasons I gave myself. And then finally I was like, okay, how do I expand into my heart space? How do I allow? How do I step in? Because it is, you feel like you're boasting about yourself, right? You're just like, ooh, someone loves me. Ooh, I can love myself. You're like, that person's conceited, that person's this, that. But actually, when you step into your heart space, you're so authentic to you and other people are authentic. Like we wouldn't have this authentic conversation, Megan, if like I didn't feel that from you and you didn't feel that from me,
Yeah,
right? It would
completely.
be a completely different podcast, a completely different conversation. Like we
Yeah,
started before you pressed record. Remember? We were
yeah,
joking. I was like, press record. Like
yeah.
this
I
is good
was
stuff.
like, stop talking. Yeah,
Like stop talking.
yeah,
So yeah, I think get in touch with your heart space.
yeah,
Um, and allow it to be uncomfortable for a bit, allow those voices to come up and that's all they are. They're just
yeah.
voices that are
They're just
trying to
voices.
show you something. Allow them to come up, allow them to be uncomfortable, and then allow yourself to laugh about it and move through it after.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It was so
Yeah, this
nice.
was really good. Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you everyone. And again, I'll put Amanda's information. So if you want to reach out to her for any kind of collaboration or coaching or unblocking or
Yeah,
whatever you would
whatever.
like, or just to chat,
Yeah, do.
yeah, I'll put all her info in the show notes. So anyway, thank you.
Thanks.